He was an athlete on stage, there's no other way to put it. Long before artists had personal trainers for tours, long before a stadium show was a choreographed spectacle of treadmills and pyrotechnics, he was out there. Alone in the spotlight, he was turning a concert into a full contact sport. Every night, he had plenty of fast songs, he built a career on them, from the early days of swiveling his hips to the movie years with their dance numbers. He was always in motion. But motion is one thing, physical demand is another. There was one song, just one, that was different. It wasn't just a song, it was a physical ordeal. It was a set piece of theater, a martial arts demonstration, and a vocal workout all rolled into one. Night after night, it took more out of him than any other number in his set list. It became his showcase, but it was also his Everest. To understand why this one song was so draining, you have to look at it from every angle. It wasn't just one thing, it was a combination of things. The music itself, the way he had to sing it, the story he had to tell, and, most of all, the way he had to move. It was a perfect storm of physical requirements that no other song in his catalog demanded. Let's start with the music. The song doesn't come out of the gate at 100 miles an hour. It's deceptive. It starts with a slow, greasy, swampy groove, a dirty bass line. You can almost feel the humidity in the air. This isn't the frantic energy of rock and roll. It's something funkier, something deeper in the pocket. For a performer, this slow burn is a unique challenge. You can't just explode with energy, you have to hold it back. You have to let the tension build. He would stand there, legs apart, microphone in hand. The music would simmer. He would just stand there, coiled like a spring, waiting. This stillness was part of the performance. It required immense control. It's easy to run around. It's hard to be completely still and command a room of thousands. All the energy is internal. He had to contain it, let it build inside him, knowing what was coming. The audience felt it too. They knew the slow, menacing intro was the calm before the storm. This sustained tension, holding that energy in check for the first minute or so, is a physical act in itself. It tenses the muscles, it focuses the mind, it's the feeling of holding your breath, waiting for the release. Then the story begins. This song isn't just a collection of lyrics about love or dancing. It's a narrative. He tells a story about a poor southern girl and what she has to eat. He's not just singing the words, he's acting them out. He becomes a narrator, a storyteller. His voice drops into a low, spoken word cadence. It's conversational, almost menacing. This requires a different kind of performance. He isn't just hitting notes. He is inhabiting a character. Vocally, this is a minefield. He shifts from a deep, rumbling, talk-singing voice to full-throated belts. He has to project this spoken narrative over a powerful live band with a full horn section. That takes an incredible amount of diaphragm support. It's not the same as singing a melody. A melody carries itself. Spoken words, delivered with that kind of percussive force, have to be pushed out with sheer physical power. You can hear the air being forced from his lungs. And then there are the grunts. The guttural sounds he makes, they weren't just for show. They were part of the fabric of the song, punctuating the rhythm. These sounds come from deep in the gut. It's a primal, physical act of vocalization. Try it. Try to make a sharp, loud grunt that can be heard at the back of a stadium. It's exhausting. It engages your core muscles. He was doing this while preparing for the song's physical explosion. So, you have this foundation, a slow burn musical tension, and a demanding narrative-driven vocal performance. That alone would make it a tough song, but that was just the appetizer. The main course was the movement. As the song builds, the dam breaks, the drums kick in with more force, the horns stab. The energy he was holding back is finally unleashed, and it doesn't come out as simple dancing. It comes out as karate. This is the key. By the late 1960s and early 1970s, he was deep into his study of martial arts. It wasn't a hobby, it was a discipline. It informed everything about him, from his worldview to his physical presence. He saw a connection between the focus and power of karate and the energy of a live performance. This song became the ultimate expression of that connection. He wasn't just adding a few kicks for flair. He was integrating his martial arts training directly into the performance. The movements were not random. They were structured, powerful, and incredibly demanding. He would drop into a low, wide horse stance, a fundamental position in many martial arts. This stance requires tremendous leg strength and flexibility to hold, especially under hot stage lights. From this stable base, he could launch his attacks. Sharp, clean hand chops that slice through the air. Or high kicks. That seemed to come out of nowhere. Deep, lunging stances that stretch his legs to their limit. Think about what a lunge like that requires. He would often drop so low that his back knee was just inches from the stage floor. This is an athletic feat. It's a compound exercise that works the quads, glutes, and hamstrings. It also requires a strong core to maintain balance. Now, imagine doing that not in a gym with comfortable shorts and sneakers, but on a stage in a jumpsuit. Ah, the jumpsuit. We can't talk about the physical demands of this era without talking about the uniform. Those iconic, bejeweled jumpsuits were not designed for athletic performance. They were heavy. They were often made of thick, non-breathable material. They were covered in metal studs, chains, and embroidery. They could weigh 20 or 30 pounds, and they were hot. Unbelievably hot. The stage lights of a Las Vegas showroom are intense. They generate a massive amount of heat. Performing under them is like working out in a sauna. The jumpsuit trapped that heat and sweat. It didn't breathe. Every movement was made with this added weight and resistance. A simple kick became harder. A deep lunge was more restrictive. Just standing under the lights in one of those suits was draining. To perform the most physically demanding song in the setlist while wearing one was a monumental task of endurance. Sometimes he wore a heavy cape, adding even more weight and encumbrance. He was essentially performing a high-intensity interval workout in a weighted, heated suit. The song's structure was designed for maximum impact, which also meant maximum effort. It had false endings. The band would come to a crashing halt. He would strike a dramatic pose, often a deep lunge or a wide karate stance, frozen in the spotlight. The crowd would erupt. He would hold the pose, sweat pouring down his face, chest heaving. It was a moment of pure theater. But it wasn't the end. Just as the applause reached its peak, the drummer would kick back in, and the band would explode back into the main riff. And he had to go again. He had to summon another burst of energy from a body that was already screaming for a break. This happened multiple times within the song. It was a series of sprints with no recovery time. This stop-and-start, explosive structure is far more taxing than a song that maintains a steady, high-energy level. It's the difference between running a marathon at a steady pace and running a series of all-out 100-meter dashes with only a few seconds of rest in between. The impact on the cardiovascular system is immense. Let's compare this song to his other high-energy numbers. Jailhouse Rock was famous for its dance sequence, but that was a choreographed piece for a film. It was shot in takes. He could rest. He was also a lean young man in his early 20s. This song was being performed by a man in his mid to late 30s, night after night, in a live setting, with no second takes. Suspicious Minds was another physically demanding song from the same era. It also featured karate chops and lunges, especially during the song's extended ending. But Suspicious Minds was about emotional desperation. The movements were an outpouring of that emotion. They were intense, but perhaps less structured, less technically demanding than the full-on martial arts display in Our Mystery Song. The song in question wasn't just about emotion, it was about a demonstration of power and control. The form and technique of the movements were just as important as the energy behind them. The sheer focus required was another layer of exhaustion. He wasn't just going through the motions. He was leading the band. The entire rhythm section, especially the drummer, had their eyes glued on him. His physical movements were their cues. A hand chop might signal a cymbal crash. A lunge might coincide with a bass drum hit. He was a conductor, using his entire body to direct a symphony of funk and rock. This meant he couldn't mentally check out for even a second. He had to be physically explosive and mentally sharp at the same time. This mind-body connection, while powerful, is incredibly draining. You can see the toll it took by watching different performances of the song over the years. In the 1970 film, That's the Way It Is, you see him at his absolute peak. He is a powerhouse of controlled energy. The movements are sharp, precise, and seemingly effortless. He is lean, focused, and in complete command. He attacks the song, and he conquers it. It's a breathtaking performance, a display of an artist at the zenith of his physical powers. But if you watch performances from just a few years later, you can see the effort. The movements are a little slower, the kicks aren't quite as high, the stances aren't quite as deep. The sweat on his face seems to come easier. The song became a barometer of his health and stamina on any given night. When he was on, it was magic, but it was always a battle against the music, against the heat, against the suit, and ultimately against the limits of his own body. He often joked about it on stage. Before starting the song, he might say something like, "I hope I can get through this one," or make a comment about catching his breath. The audience would laugh, but there was a truth to it. He knew what was coming. He knew the physical price he was about to pay for the next 5 to 7 minutes. Think of it as his heavyweight title fight. Every show, he had to step into the ring with this song. It demanded his best. It required his full strength, his full focus, his full endurance. It was a multi-round bout fought in a single number. The first round was the slow, tense introduction, a psychological game of holding back. The next few rounds were the narrative, a vocal challenge of breath control and raw power. The championship rounds were the explosions of movement, the karate, the lunges, the non-stop assault on his own physical limits. The false endings were like getting up off the canvas after a knockdown, only to have to face the onslaught again. And when it was finally truly over, the aftermath was clear. He would be drenched in sweat, breathing heavily, often bent over with his hands on his knees, taking a moment to recover before the applause had even died down. The audience saw the spectacle. The band saw the athlete. He felt the cost. No other song left him in that state. No other song took that much out of him. It was a monster he had created, and every night he had to go out and slay it. It was a showcase of everything he was in that moment in time. The Southern storyteller. The master of funk and rhythm. The disciplined martial artist. The ultimate showman. All these facets of his personality and his craft converged into one explosive, exhausting, and unforgettable performance. It was more than a song. It was a statement, a physical declaration of his power as a performer. The reason it was so demanding was that it required every ounce of him. It required his physical strength, his cardiovascular endurance, his flexibility, his vocal power, his mental focus, and his theatrical charisma all at the same time. It was a total commitment of body and soul for the duration of the song. He left nothing in reserve. He had other songs that were harder to sing. He had other songs that were faster. But no other song combined all these elements into such a sustained, high-impact package. It was the one song where you could palpably see the energy draining from him in real time, all in the service of giving the audience a moment they would never forget. It was his masterpiece of physical performance. The song was Polk Salad Annie.